Today, we're going to talk about excellence versus perfectionism.
Are you a perfectionist? You're listening to...
Jom Sembang, Malaysia.
No, seriously, are you Ju? I've always wanted to ask you this question because I can't tell. Sometimes I think you are, sometimes I think you're not.
Sometimes I also think I am, sometimes I also think I'm not.
I mean, if I look at myself, I don't think I'm a perfectionist. I'm more of like, we must complete the stuff. You know, that kind of things. Maybe more of excellence for me than perfectionist. Because I find myself in the production world, I need to give up a lot of things. For things to happen the best that it can happen. And not like perfect lah. Because sometimes perfect is hard lah in production lah.
Okay, so I Google, right, the meaning of perfectionist. Actually, it's like a person who wants everything to be perfect and demands the highest standards possible. So if you think about perfect, right, there are two ways to look at it lah. One is perfect means, okay, we do a maths test.
Okay.
The perfect score is 100%.
Okay.
Right? So you didn't get any wrong.
Okay.
Or you play online game, right? You have this reputation thing.
Okay.
Right? So if you play long enough and don't halfway quit game or whatever, or you don't get people complain against you, then your reputation, 100%. So it's a perfect reputation.
Perfect score.
Perfect score lah. That one I think is easier to quantify. So in terms of, am I a perfectionist in some sense? Yes, because if I do a quiz, likelihood is I want to get 10 out of 10.
Correct.
Right? Where possible lah. Unless I'm simply like, simply just
I think
testing
everyone
only.
also want 10 out of 10.
Actually, no. A lot of people like I pass enough lah.
Okay. Fair enough.
In terms of that one, the reputation, I think I used to be one to have 10 out of 10 or 100 out of 100. Now it's like, you know what? If something happens, I won't beat myself so much lah. Too bad lah, we're all human lah. But it will still say excellent lah. It won't go until like bad.
Okay.
So that's on one hand where perfection can be scored. It can be calculated, right? But if you look in terms of art, it's very hard lah to say perfect or not perfect, right? Because sometimes it's so perfect that it's not nice anymore. So would I then call that perfect? No lah, it's like, it sounds too fake already.
Okay.
I don't know.
A bit hard because art is subjective.
Correct.
So let's go with, for example, a mug, a cup. For me, a cup is perfect if I can hold it and I can drink water from it.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be an excellent cup, but it's a perfect cup because I can use it. A cup is not perfect is if I don't have a handle and I cannot lift it, or there's a chip and I cannot drink it, then it's not perfect. But it doesn't mean that the creation is not excellent. It's just...
Okay, wait. Come to books.
Okay.
Okay, so when I go buy a book, right, I actually go and pick out the one that is in the most pristine condition, right? So if it has a little bit of a doggy, I'll put it aside and I get the next one. So if actually it's wrapped up, it's worse because you can't even see if like maybe pages are not cut or whatever lah. But I will go for the most best looking pristine condition one, even though I know after I read it, right, after 1 week it might not be pristine. But I am kind of OCD like that. So in terms of perfection, or for lack of a better word, OCDness, right? In terms of alignment, must be as aligned as possible. Check properly. So in that sense, kinda, but now not trying lah. I think you need to know where to draw the line because, again, so when it comes to art, when it comes to my work or my music or my writing, I need to know when it's ready to let go, and because there is no such thing as perfect already.
Okay.
Those kind of thing lah.
So a lot of time I would deny I'm a perfectionist.
Okay.
Because it doesn't fit who I think I am and what I do. Even though sometimes people might confuse it as that.
Okay.
Because when I run a production, I say, okay, it needs to be done in a certain way, structured way. Yeah. So I always begin with a framework. If we can follow the framework, great. If we cannot follow the framework and we know the target is to reach that destination.
Yeah.
I don't care how we reach it in a way that we are all proud of.
Okay.
In the excellence, and we are fine. So I'm an excellence over perfectionist person. In the product, the end product must show you that, exclude that excellence that, okay, people have put in the effort, the best that they can, and this is their best Excel work report.
Okay.
It's not the perfect thing,
Yeah.
but it's what we can do based on the circumstances, the skills, and what we have.
Okay.
I'm happy with that.
Okay, coba. So the excellence thing, because it's like another huge topic, right?
Correct.
But
it's always confused together, is what I'm saying.
Correct,
So
yeah.
I wanted to really highlight that, excellence is something that can be confused as a perfect thing,
Yeah.
but it's also really about giving our best.
Okay, so I have a question, right? Based on just what you said just now. I noticed that in terms of communication, you are quite a perfectionist. In the sense, when people don't communicate properly or they don't adhere to communication lines properly, you get very upset. So for me, right, it's like, yeah, we're all human. Sometimes I might say something to you that wasn't as complete as it could be, or I didn't read the instructions as completely as I should or could have. Or I should have talked to you first, but I talked to somebody else first before coming to the other person in the chain of communication. Yeah, so what's your take on that?
I don't see it as perfectionist. It's
Okay.
more of like the excellence of communicating correctly. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like I don't mind people like, accidentally jump and talk to the other person.
Uh-huh.
As long as whatever you all discuss come back to here, because everyone needs to know, and you all don't go somewhere else with it and all of us in the loss, and then when you come back, it's clash. So cross communication is what we are trying to avoid. Not the perfect communication. You must talk A, then talk B, then talk C.
Okay.
But if the person can function talking C, B, all rojak together, and yet everyone understands what it is,
Okay.
it's fine. It doesn't have to be the perfect communication. So it's more
Alright,
of like, for me, communication, we excel in communication if there's no cross communication. So every time someone is cross communicating, or potentially cross communicating, creating miscommunication, then for me, there's no excellence in the communication.
Okay. So you're not looking for the perfect ideal, it should be like that, therefore, why didn't do like that? But you're looking for
excellence in
at
the
least having
communication.
thought through
Correct.
who or what or how.
Correct.
Rather than just simply on the top
let's
of your
pick
mind.
the
just
next person next to me and talk, and then that person might be someone you cannot trust, then go and confuse the other fellow, and they have confused fellow, and then we end up holding a meeting for it. Then I'll be like, hey, communication. Can you all communicate properly or correctly? But it's more of the excellence of that communication. Not so much as the perfectionist communication lah. Because everyone communicate differently.
Correct. Okay, so then coming back to then, how do you define excellence?
So I define excellence by, once you know certain things that you can do to minimize risk and you complete it that way, the best that you can.
Wow.
Doesn't have
minimize
to be
risk and completing the task or whatever.
the best that you can.
The best that you can.
Yeah.
Right? So
Whoever
it doesn't
is it.
necessarily have to be the best in the world, but the best that you can
So
deliver.
for example, if I'm having a production and my main actor cannot sing, dance and act.
Okay.
Can only do 2 at one time.
All right.
Okay, but that's his main capacity.
Yeah. Okay.
So I will sit down there and choose. Maybe he just need to dance.
Yeah.
Or maybe he just need to sing and talk. The dance, I will give way. So I say, people do 10 moves, you just do 2 moves. I'm fine with it, and let's go.
Do it well lah.
So it's not
the
perfect.
best that you can. Yeah.
If I look at the stage, right, it's like, what is that main star fella? Just swinging left and right. Everybody's like left, right, swirl, left, right, swirl. But for me, that is the best excellence I can get. It's not perfect, but that person have given the best.
Okay, so in other words, ideally, right, if he could do this, this, and this, that would have been the perfect scenario. But
so some people, I have met people who, like, for example, I'm telling the person, it's okay, you just choose 2 out of 3, right? And I've chosen for you because I know what's your strength. The other producer might come and say, no, you must do all 3. I also must do all 3 because then it will be perfect.
But then all 3 is done
then it will be perfect.
horrendously lah.
So then I would say the producer next to me is a perfectionist. Like me is like, I know that's perfect, but it might not be able to achieve, and I don't want to risk grumpy people. Let's do your best. That's it.
Okay.
So I have done a lot of production where, in my mind, if I were a perfectionist, you are dead.
Okay.
Or like, hello, if I said walk left, right, and you started walking right, left, perfectionists will start pointing out. But for me, excellence, right? You try 10 times, cannot, then forget about it, let's go. So that for me makes a whole lot of difference lah.
Okay.
So maybe after a break, we
Okay.
can decide better if, for example, like just now I mentioned, like I'm the employer, the fellow is the employee, cannot deliver, right? Let's mention the other way around. What happens if you have a boss that is perfectionist?
Okay. This episode is brought to you by CMate Communications. They do design, they do copywriting, and they do all sorts of creative content. So if you like what you're hearing on Jom Sembang Malaysia, if you like the artwork, do reach out to them, CMate Communications on Facebook. So have you had a boss who is perfectionist?
Maybe once or twice, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
very proper way of thinking, regardless whether it's right or wrong, it must be done in his perfectionist way.
Okay.
So very, for example, like how he want the files delivered to his room
Mm-hmm.
must be put here on the first folder. If the first folder is full, you cannot pile it on top. You must go and look through the folder and see which one can go second tier and then put the first one on top. Like, okay, very perfectionist lah, you know.
Okay.
But when it comes to other people who come in, right, I'm in a rush, right? As long as the file delivered to you can read, right? Why you want me to sort out according to priority, whatever. But he's very particular, but he will give us a 1 hour lecture on how you must arrange the file when you deliver to his room, at which folder. For me, that was a very perfectionist thing.
Okay.
And being the employee, it is very stressful.
So perfectionist isn't necessarily functional lah. Maybe it's functional for him lah, because everything he wants to look for is in that right place. But actually, it doesn't necessarily need to be that way.
It doesn't necessarily be functional for other people. Or you might be making people's life difficult. Because you forget that, people also got perfectionist way, what?
Their own perfectionist.
Yeah. And then if it clashes, you know. So for example, right, you only hired me to go in and deliver your files every time.
Okay.
And then I must not make a scene. I must quietly do it and everything. But then you also want me to do 101 things. So it clashes with the operation of my job scope, right?
Yeah.
And then it will create conflict lah. So the stressful part for the employee is like, today I didn't have time. I just put it on it, then I'm gonna go 1 hour. Was it necessary? So I think perfectionist sometimes also asking ourselves, was it necessary?
So it kind of borderlines on a legalism kind of thing. It's just like that because it must be like that. And there's no leeway of, does it actually why? Does it have to be like that?
Correct. Yeah, correct. So I had one boss that is very particular about things like that. And then I have another boss who's perfectionist in the sense that everything must be done this way, even though that way is wrong.
Oh.
Or you have a way that might quicken the process. He don't care. It's this way means it's this way.
Oh.
This is the perfect way. Even though your way can save me 5 minutes, I don't like it. I want this way.
I don't know if that I would call it perfectionist. I just call that unflexible. I mean,
but isn't that related? A lot of perfectionists, because they are unflexible lah, that's why they wanted the thing to be fully perfect.
So for example, right, let's say you do maths lah. Okay, go back to maths. You're supposed to find a solution. I can't remember what I do in maths.
Algebra.
Yeah, but you know there's the full way of getting the mark or the answer, right? And well, obviously now there are formulas that they can use to get the answer faster.
Correct.
Right? But let's say you have a perfectionist lecturer, right? They would want you to write everything before you come up with the answer, which sometimes is not necessary. So even in this workforce thing, sometimes, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 steps and then come up with the solution. But I can also, I know this one doesn't need the 2, 3, and 4, so I can go to 5. It's not like skip it, but I've already saw, okay, I can go straight to 5. I don't need to talk to 2 and 3. Then I can talk to the next person because it's 2 not involved, ma. And then I still come up with the solution. So if the person insists that you have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I don't know lah. To me, I wouldn't really call it perfectionist lah. For me lah, I would say
controlling.
Control freak or too compliant or need to just stuck in that particular way and not innovating. Okay. To me, a perfectionist, right, is like you sit on something and you keep on trying to make it better or improve and check and check and not knowing when to
Or sounds like
let go.
sounds like the person does not want to lose out on anything and make sure that it's just perfect.
So for example, okay, when we were kemas kini itu apa?
Updating.
Revising a book, right?
Okay,
Remember that time when we were revising a book? There will be things that you will miss in the first, second, third check, proofread, or whatever.
It happens all the time.
Correct?
Pick up any book in the world, there's at least 3 typo in it.
Yeah. So when you actually told me that, it was actually very liberating because in my mind, it should be perfect. If somebody missed something, grammatical error, I'm like, hey, I found at least 3 typos in it, and that's just those that I spotted. That would be what I would say to myself, what kind of editor didn't do their job properly? You know what I mean? It's like, how can you let this pass and 1 million copies of this book print? Okay? So that as a reader, that is my thing. My perception of that, whatever lah, that editor or whoever, akan jatuh when I see this type of mistake. 3 mistakes already. But then you say, hey, actually all books there will at least be 3. So now, when I'm on the other side and I'm editing, and we've gone through 3 proofreads already, and it's like, that part of me still saying, sure, did you check this one? Because sometimes, you reach the last
perfectionist.
The last chapter, right? You spotted something, you're like, oh shoot. But did I look out for this in the first 9 chapters? Because it only cropped up in chapter 10 that you actually noticed it. To me, that is perfectionism, as in the bad side of perfectionism. Because then, actually, you will never be able to let it
you never be able to complete something.
go. So in a sense, okay, again, I ask musician, is JD still there? Because sometimes, he mixes music, right? This is one is like, sometimes, right? And I think this happens when you're a lot less experienced as a producer, right? You're listening to it and you're like, hey, this part, it's like, I want to tweak a bit more here, a bit more there, a bit more here. But in the overall scheme of things, right, every time you tweak something, everything else moves, everything in relation to that moves, right? And that's the most annoying thing I did, right? Can JD to the engineers like, I just want to tweak this one thing. And actually, they have to fix a lot of things.
Every other thing that's connected
just
to
think
you
that you fix that one thing. And then there's no end to it because it's so subjective. And to me, it's like knowing we've done our best. Let's go with this. Let's do. Like, I don't have to make sure that, again, so in a project thing, maybe it's like, you have to make sure you have covered every single thing, your budget, everything, your business plan, blah, 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 blah. Then only we jalan in that sense.
I would actually not call that perfectionist.
No?
It's just really excellent. So for me, a perfectionist is really going in and say that I want the cake to look a certain way and that's it. So a perfectionist always have a definition. Okay?
Like and...
Yeah, and they will not
It
budge from that definition. I want a strawberry cake with 5 strawberries, 5 strawberry, and same size. Cannot big size, more size. Die also like that. That's perfectionist, okay?
Okay. But the taste must be exactly like this also.
Yeah, everything exactly the way they want it, 100% the way they want it. That's perfectionist.
But if you cannot get that particular butter, then how?
Then it annoys you until you get it. That's why you're the annoying perfectionist, okay? But for me, I know that I'm not perfectionist because I will have the end game in my mind, okay?
Okay.
This is how Christmas look like. My actor should be dancing, singing, talking.
Yeah.
Okay? But it turned out cannot.
Okay. Yeah.
And if I make that decision to either replace the person or not replace the person or whatever, then I know I'm not perfectionist. Because if I'm a perfectionist, I don't care. I want you. I already casted you. I trained you for 10 months. You better deliver. If you cannot, the next few days you're spending the 9 hours with me, sing, dance, until you get it. Then I'm a crazy perfectionist already. So same things with the cake. For example, we just need a strawberry cake. Yeah. If the strawberry is not sweet, I won't go and hunt for the sweetest strawberry. It's sweet but it's not the sweetest So the perfectionist will tell you, give me the sweetest strawberry. The non-perfectionist will tell you, got strawberry, not sour, can already.
The perfectionist in the other scenario would have actually fired that person and got a person who can do all 3.
So it really depends on what you're looking for. Because at the end of the day, it comes a lot with values That's why they say perfectionists are hard to work with because they are very definite about what they want and they do not change regardless of circumstance. A non-perfectionist is also know exactly what they want, but they are willing to change based on circumstance. And then there's those who even you change based on circumstance, they don't okay, let's change next. There's no excellence.
They change
based on circumstance and yet push the excellence within that
Yeah.
circumstance. For me, that is an excellence person.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So what I'm hearing is perfectionism is rigid lah.
Yeah. It's
In a
something
sense,
that's
it's rigid.
how to say, self-diagnosed, self-implemented.
But in a sense, I mean, I would consider myself more of a person who pursues excellence because actually with excellence, you can grow. If your idea of perfect is, like I said, right, score 10 out of 10. If I just forever want to be perfect, then I just keep at that level, then I can have 10 out of 10 lah, right? But excellence is also growth. How can I do better? How can I do this the
Correct.
best I can, right? And if actually means that, oh, I'm going to go to next level where I might maybe not score 10 out of 10, maybe I score 6 out of 10, but I allow myself that I can do better, what?
Yeah.
Then I actually grow and I don't have to have that perfect 10 all the time. Of course, you also still want to push to trying to get as close to that 10 for the next level
Correct.
also lah, right? But it's not being stuck like, oh, yeah, I always have to be perfect. Then only, then
Correct.
you
Because
kinda stuck also.
excellence is a big leaping stone when it comes to learning and
Yeah.
growing. So for example, this actor might be like, oh, I feel disappointed lah. I couldn't do 3 things for Gina. And you do 2 things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, everyone has to adjust. So I said, okay, since he's got to do left, right, you guys better left, right, and swirl properly, okay? Otherwise, it will be a sore thumb. So everyone had to up their game. Right?
Okay.
But the next production when we come, everybody is so there already. So even this guy have mastered talking and singing. He can say, now I can do left, right, and half a swirl. So excellence allowed you to hit a new perfection.
Yes.
But perfectionist does not push that perfection to a next level perfection. Excellence helps you to push beyond. I have not reached 100 marks, but the next time I reach, I'll be 105.
True. Actually, a perfectionist might never complete the job also.
A perfectionist might not get 105 because that will annoy him.
There's no such thing as 105%. No, but I'm saying if you're a perfectionist, like you might never, if you want to write a book.
It will be complete. Writers
It
have
will
the
never.
worst thing ever. Writers rewrite their manuscript many, many times because by the time they finish writing, it takes so long, right? Then they suddenly feel that, hey, I learned so much about character. Let's go back and build it again.
Oh, the thing became outdated
And
really.
then they reach the end and they say, now the character better, the plot will be better. Then they go change. I have friends who are writers who've been writing 10 years and the story
So
changes.
it'll never come out, right?
Yeah.
In the end, yeah.
Because and then I always tell them, you want a book or you want a perfect thing because the perfection you seek grows with you. So for example, when I'm 20, I write a book. This is my definition of process. By the time I finish a book, I'm 21. My definition of perfect is different. Then if I keep following it, I will never end.
True.
Yeah. Because 5 years later, my perfect mark is, now I actually need a bigger handle because my hand big already. Okay? So if the mark that I previously think is perfect, come out from the oven after I mold it, whatever, right? Came out, but I gained weight already. And I thought, this handle is stupid, very small, right? I should make a bigger handle. Then you will say it's not perfect. But at the time of baking, it was perfect to you lah.
So now we know the difference.
Well, what would you choose lah?
Oh, excellence lah, for sure lah.
Because it's really, So if I meet a perfectionist, which we do come across. Okay, so for example, I have a PA last time. Wow, guideline must follow step by step. I said, your step by step is pushing me back from excellence. Or it's pushing me back from meeting the deadline. I just need to deliver a mark. The client didn't say it must be red. Why must me insist it's red? Because red is a nice color. If the fella have missed the red to be a shade lighter than red, it's fine. They just wanted a mark.
Correct. Unless it's a branding thing lah.
That
particular brand of red must be that particular lah. But
correct.
Knowing when things are essential and when things are not. I think that's also part of excellence.
When you thought about that, then there's the perfectionist. The person didn't order the exact color, right? So that is, if I'm picking on it just because I'm picking on it, then I'm a perfectionist. But if the person order red and you give blue and you don't pursue it, then your excellence is not there. Because your definition is red, what?
That's why I don't care really lah.
Then your excellence is not there, okay? So there is a fine line between insisting on excellence and insisting on perfection.
Jom Sembang Malaysia is hosted by 2 Malaysians who are passionate about Malaysian stuff.
Stay tuned every week for a brand new Sembang session with Cerita Suito and Gina Yap Layung.
Today's episode is recorded at Studio 2105.
Remember to click like and subscribe for the brand new episode next week.